That's the TPS. Might be worth going to get that tonight. Like I said, I don't know what you guys can see here. If you can see anything. Try to sit as low as I can. No scrape. It's not an S chassis, baby. She goes, baby, she goes. Dang. Nothing like a rear wheel car with a bit of power. This thing can be scary to drift, I think. Coming from a SR20, this thing's got a bit of go. There's that idle. Yeah, she's roaded, she's cammed. That wind noise probably isn't good, eh? Just missed the exit. Let's see if we can jump over here. Car's not been washed either. It's looking filthy. We'll try to give it a bit of sauce going onto this. Stay high RPM per second. Pretty quick, I must admit. That's on pretty early. Yeah, about 4,000. Got the camber wobbles in the front. I like having a RB25 gearbox in it. Gives me a bit more peace of mind doing dodgy shifts. You guys probably can't hear anything I'm saying anyway with this wind. Yeah, about 3.5, it's coming on. think it'll be Ben's WRX, no problem. I really want to drift it, but I just don't know. I don't know the feel of these. Changing the oil. I should change the oil in the gearbox and the diff. It's been sitting a long time. So easy to speed in cars like this. It's crazy.
Did Jackson hear any weird noises, or he just noticed the gauge was broken and he's...
Well, we were driving and he's like, oh, it sounds a little bit different. Like the zoot part sounded a bit weird, and then all of a sudden he noticed the gauge, like it wasn't reading, it was on 0. So we pulled over and then he fixed something and then it was reading. And then we got to gym and it wasn't reading, and he's like, shit, I better check it.
The engine's a bit noisy up top.
What? Oh, he said the engine was a bit noisy up the top, whatever that means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, cut to the garage and the 32 is back. We have, as of last night, we got some we got some bad readings on the gauge. Both gauges, the OEM gauge and the aftermarket gauge. If it was just the OEM gauge, I would have thought it's possibly the gauge, but for both of them to go, that's no coincidence. I had warning lights on either gauge, and so therefore got a tow home just to be sure. I'm about to check it over now. I'm going to put a mechanical oil pressure gauge on to see what sort of reading I get, because the electric gauges probably aren't as accurate. I've just started it to run it into the shed, as you guys saw in the last video, or one of the last videos. It is not fun to push this thing up, that's like up the timbers. So I've ran it in and we have seen no drop in oil pressure. I'm not sure if that's because it's cold, but perfect readings. So I'm praying it's not the pump. That would be ideal. I'm hoping it's the sender or even both gauges. I'm not sure, but it's more than likely the sender if the gauges are both reading that. But I'm gonna dive into it and I'll be back in a sec. All right, so we've got the mechanical oil pressure gauge hooked up down there. We've got it sitting here. We're gonna start it, let it idle for a bit and see what we get. So the aftermarket electronic gauge will be disconnected, so I won't be looking at that. Battery is disconnected. Alright, so we got the gauge there. Bit hard for you guys to see in the light. Factory gauge should be working as well. It's got plenty of pressure. Plenty of pressure. That's at about 70 psi. Gauge is reading the 4. OEM gauges, the aftermarket gauge is reading, I don't know how that works. Sounds alright. Right about 7 there. OEM gauge is reading good. So far so good. noise up top. Definitely a bit more crackly. Still reading 60, we've got good pressure. But it's, the warmer it gets, it sounds sicker and sicker. Car is slowly getting warmer and we are slowly losing pressure. It's creeping down and down and down. So we're at about 50 on the mechanical gauge. Dash still reading the same. Revving it, it's going to 60. Let off a bit. Creeping back down. Sounds a bit sick. The lifters sound louder than normal. Reading low when it's warm, so I don't know if that's the oil thinning, but the RPM is getting worse, like lowering. So that's at about 18 there.